a silent threat, apparently requiring months of planning, was just uncovered down in Florida. It's forcing federal agencies, well, to confront the reality of what looks like an accelerating risk profile against the president.
That's exactly what we're diving into today. We're looking at sources about this suspicious discovery near President Trump's travel route.
Right.
And then we're putting it in the context of what the sources keep calling, this documented escalating pattern of targeted political violence. It's a really urgent conversation about security, about volatility.
Okay, let's jump right into the facts then, because the operation by the U.S. Secret Service, the USSS, down at Palm Beach International Airport, PBI they call it, well, it yielded some pretty stunning details.
Yeah.
During just routine advanced security checks, before President Trump was due to arrive, a team found something really unusual. An elevated hunting stand near the perimeter.
And this wasn't just like some misplaced gear someone left behind. The sources really emphasized its placement, how strategic it was. This stand had a direct line of sight. Yeah, completely unobstructed, right to the exact spot where Air Force One lands and, where the president usually gets off the plane. And we're talking about an airport, right? It's urban. There's no hunting anywhere near PBI. So law enforcement sources, commentators too, they immediately saw it and basically said, that's a classic sniper's nest.
The implication there is pretty clear, isn't it? Intent. So when they found it, the investigation just immediately kicked into high gear.
Right.
The FBI took the lead. Director Kash Patel confirmed they flew in special resources, and this is where the tech comes in. They deployed advanced cell phone analytics capabilities.
And that detail, the cell analytics, that's critical. Now, authorities did confirm, nobody was actually at the scene when they found it. No individuals, no weapons. That's important.
Okay.
But what really shifted this from maybe just trespassing to, serious federal investigation was the timeline. A law enforcement source reported the stand looked like it had been there for months.
Months.
Wow.
If it was planted months ago, maybe as a surveillance spot or, well, worse. Why bring in the high-tech cell phone stuff immediately? What are they hoping to find?
Well, it's about the difference between finding physical evidence right then and there versus mapping who might have been there over time.
Okay.
When we talk about advanced cell phone analytics, the FBI isn't just pinging phones that are active now. They're digging into historical data, mapping movement patterns.
So going back.
Exactly. They're looking for specific devices, could be burner phones, maybe known devices that were in that very specific kind of isolated, elevated spot. During those months, the stand was likely there.
Right.
They're basically trying to figure out who might have scouted the location, who was hanging around there for a while, who put the stand up. It's like reverse engineering the whole setup using digital footprints.
That makes that months-long detail feel, well, a lot more sinister. It suggests real planning, patience, reconnaissance, not just some random act. Okay, so let's unpack this more. The Secret Service apparently called this stand discovery especially concerning. And the reason is, the president's already been targeted multiple times, high-profile attempts recently. So they see this stand not as just a one-off, but maybe signaling things are speeding up.
That's exactly right. When federal authorities treat this like it confirms an escalating threat, they're directly linking it to two major incidents from earlier this year. And if you look at the methods used in those attempts, which the sources detail, you really start to see why they're so concerned now.
The first one, I think everyone remembers this, the Pennsylvania rally shooting back in July 2024. That shook everyone.
Oh, absolutely. Tragic. And opportunistic. Thomas Matthew Crooks, he opened fire from a rooftop, kind of unexpected vantage point, during that rally in Butler, Pennsylvania.
Right.
The attack hit the president, injured his ear, and tragically killed Corey Compertor, a retired firefighter. It was impulsive, yes, but devastating. Really relied on, getting close and the element of surprise.
Then, just a couple of months later, September 2024, we saw something completely different, didn't we? The plot at the Florida golf course.
Yeah, right here in Florida. And that's where you see the shift, maybe towards more static planning.
Yeah.
Ryan Wesley-Ruth, he was convicted later.
Right.
He was caught after a Secret Service agent actually spotted the barrel of his AK-style rifle sticking out of some bushes near the Trump International Golf Course in West Palm Beach. Reports said he'd been camped out there for hours, just waiting.
So waiting. That's different.
Exactly. The key thing here, according to the sources, is that shift from maybe impulsive attacks like the rally to plots that need planning, observation, patience, like Ruth waiting in the bushes.
And now, with this hunting stand, the sources seem to suggest we might be looking at a third type of method, Something even more complex, maybe, like long-term surveillance needing time, maybe even tech skills.
Yeah.
The kind of thing the FBI is trying to trace with those cell analytics.
It really does paint a picture of a threat that's, well, constantly changing, evolving its tactics. The sources describe this whole environment now as needing just exhaustive investigation because the methods seem to be getting more complex, harder to spot in advance.
Okay, so that brings us to the bigger picture.
Yeah.
The Secret Service sees the stand as part of this wider pattern. But why do our sources suggest this pattern isn't just random attacks, but maybe rooted in political ideology?
Well, yeah, if you connect the dots the way the sources we looked at do, they make a pretty direct link between this specific incident and what they describe repeatedly, actually, as a general escalation of left-wing violence. And understanding that viewpoint, that context they provide, is really critical to grasping why law enforcement seems to be treating, any elevated position near the president as a potential serious plot.
And they offer specific claims to back up this idea of escalating political violence, don't they?
They do. The sources point to a reported 1,000% increase in assaults against ICE agents.
1,000%. That's huge.
It sounds enormous, right? They use it as strong evidence of rising violence, framing it as an attack on federal authority, often linked to, conservative policies.
Do they give details on that number?
That's the thing. We have to note, while the sources cite this really alarming percentage, they don't actually provide the exact time frame for that increase or the baseline numbers, what it increased from.
Okay, so context is missing there.
Right. Context is kind of key there. But nonetheless, it's the data point they use to characterize what they see as a growing willingness for violence on the political periphery.
And it's not just statistics, is it? The narrative in the source material about this escalating violence, it's also fueled by really recent, very high-profile events, like the assassination of a conservative ally just weeks before they found this stand.
That would be the death of Charlie Kirk. Yeah, just over a month before the Palm Beach stand discovery. Charlie Kirk, the founder of Turning Point USA.
Well-known figure.
Very. He was assassinated while speaking at a college event, and the person charged, Tyler Robinson, was reportedly promoting pro-transgender and pro-Antifa rhetoric online. Officials also noted his political views had apparently shifted pretty sharply to the left in recent years.
And after Kirk died, President Trump and Vice President J.D. Vance, they explicitly said that individuals pushing far-left ideological viewpoints are, in their view, fueling political violence in the country.
Right.
So the sources reflect that perspective, that the threat is coming from this specific ideological direction, and it demands a serious response.
Yeah, and this whole environment, this whole idea, it gets summed up in one source with a headline that just says, rhetoric has consequences.
Rhetoric has consequences.
The argument being made there is that you can't just dismiss the possibility of this stand being an assassination plot because, and this is according to that source, well-known leftists and Democrats have been ramping up the political rhetoric in support of violence.
So they're drawing a direct line from heated political speech to potential real-world action.
That's the argument they're making, yes. That intense political talk is actively influencing people to take action against political opponents.
Which leads us, pretty naturally, I guess, to the security side. The defensive changes the Secret Service has actually made, publicly. Given this pattern, the shooting, the ambush plot, now this possible long-term setup, what specific visible changes have they implemented to protect the president?
Well, the Secret Service is definitely responding. You can see it on multiple levels. USS Chief of Communications, Anthony Guglielmi, he stressed they rely on layered security measures.
Layered security.
Yeah. And importantly, he pointed out that finding the stand actually highlighted the success of their advanced security prep. The use of technology and comprehensive physical sweeps. They found the threat before the president got there.
That's a good point. The system worked, even if the threat itself is alarming.
Exactly. The defensive layers worked, which is crucial, even though the fact the stand was there at all is, deeply troubling.
And we've also seen a really noticeable, very visible change in how the president actually boards Air Force One now.
That's a key operational shift, absolutely. After those previous attacks, President Trump is now consistently seen boarding Air Force One using the small stairs, the faster, less exposed ones.
Right, not the big platform stairs we used to see.
Exactly, not the big, more visible staircase. And a White House official confirmed this change was specifically due to increased security measures. It just cuts down the time he's exposed during what's always a high-risk moment, moving between environments.
And the security prep isn't just about public events.
Right.
It extends to protecting his private residences, too. Acknowledging the threat is sort of constant.
Precisely. The threat doesn't stop when he's off the campaign trail. The USSS actually carried out a joint training exercise right there at Mar-a-Lago recently in West Palm Beach. The stated goal was specifically to increase protection of the high-profile facility. So you put it all together. The sophistication suggested by the stand's placement combined with this alarming sequence of prior attacks that the sources detail. It really shows that the security protocols are actively having to adapt to a new, higher level of documented, persistent danger.
So wrapping this up, what's the bottom line here for you, the listener? The FBI is treating this hunting stand find as unequivocally a serious potential plot. They're throwing advanced tech at it to find who's responsible.
Yeah, and federal authorities, commentators cited in the sources, they clearly see this not as some random isolated thing, but as confirmation of an accelerating threat pattern with multiple methods being tried, and they are framing it as rooted in politically motivated violence coming from specific ideological viewpoints described in the sources.
Right. The big takeaways have to be that this sustained environment of, well, politically charged violence is really changing things. It's dramatically shaping the security around the president, how he engages publicly in a way we haven't seen quite like this recently. These adjustments seem permanent, they're defensive, and surely very expensive.
No doubt.
And our sources, they keep coming back to that phrase. Rhetoric has consequences. It raises a pretty important question, I think, for you to consider. If the aim of political violence is ultimately to silence opponents, to reshape public debate through fear or force, what's the real cost to a free society when that kind of rhetoric actually does turn into action? When the consequence we see is this visible tightening of security around our leaders, maybe restricting their public appearances, limiting their ability to connect directly with the people, something to think about.